Live from my living room in the greater Boston area, it's Aligning with the Stars. Da 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 da. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Aligning with the Stars. I am your host Aline, but you can call me Allie. We made it through our final elimination and we are on our way to the finale. Woo! Congratulations to Alex, Robert, Jordan, Elaine, and Dylan on being our finalists. We did say goodbye to Whitney. Some may have found this shocking. She was definitely a front runner. I think total cumulative score, she had the best score, and if you average it out, she was in first place based on score alone. But I just fear people didn't like her. I'm chronically online, so I was seeing firsthand just how many people were strongly against her being on the show. A lot of people didn't like that she had dance experience. That's not a reason for me personally to not want someone to win. I love, there's been so many stars that have had such incredible dance background, like Milo, like Jordan Fisher, people like that. But they did a better job at being likable. And I feel like she wasn't really relatable and likable, and that hurt her, in addition to the dance experience thing. And people didn't like that she was partnered with Mark because they feel like they always got the best pros, yada, yada, yada. All that just led to her going home and unfortunately missing the finale by 1 week. A lot of people were also complaining, saying, oh, they sent the best dancer home. Isn't this Dancing with the Stars, not a popularity contest? And honestly, I disagree with that. I don't feel like she was still the best dancer. I saw a really great TikTok this week about how week 1, week 2, yes, Whitney was the best dancer. But once you got to week 4, other people were starting to catch up to where she was. People like Alex and Robert, I feel are almost outperforming her in certain styles. And because Whitney came in with so much dance background, she didn't really grow throughout the season. So yeah, it's just hard for me to really say that she still was the best dancer. I feel like a lot of other people were dancing at a very similar level. And when you get down to the semifinals, when people are getting all 9s or 10s and there isn't really that much variation in the score, you do unfortunately have to be likable. Fan vote really kicks in there, so if you didn't have it, I'm sorry, you're not making the finale. There are other stars that people want to see dance more than you, and that's just the way this works. If she had gone home week 4 or something, then yes, I'd be up in arms being she was robbed, she was an awesome dancer, what's going on? But just missing the finale by 1 week, I don't really feel like she was completely robbed, when you think about Heather Morris, she went home really early in the competition because of her dance experience. I think the same night she got a perfect score, she went home. And it was early, shocking. So times like that, I'm okay guys, let's put that aside and let these people actually dance. I want to see good dancers. But here, I just don't feel like that was the same situation. She just wasn't doing it for me, and she wasn't doing it for a lot of people. And unfortunately, she went home. I didn't love the theming for this night. I feel like a lot of the songs didn't perfectly match the dance styles, and they were kind of okay, this is your song, figure out how to do a quick step to it and stuff like that. And I also feel like a lot of the stars currently on this season are not the target audience for Prince. Robert's 21, Alex and Jordan are 24, Dylan and Whitney are 32, 33, and then Elaine is 54. And I feel like maybe Elaine is more of the target audience for Prince, but some of these contestants, I feel like they just didn't really mesh with it. I'm 24, so I'm the same age as Jordan and Alex, and yes, I know Prince, but I didn't really grow up listening to his music. I don't really I know the big ones. I know Purple Rain, I know Baby I'm a Star, stuff like that. But when you get into some of these nicher ones, and I'm sure they're not even that niche, I'm sure they're his most popular songs, but people my age, we don't really know Prince as well. So it was kind of a tough one, and especially to have it as the theme for the semifinals when that is such an important week for a lot of these contestants. I wish they didn't do it. In a perfect world, there would have been no theme for the semifinals, but if they did have to pick a theme for this week, I wish they had done Wicked, because that was my favorite week so far in this season. There was so much energy. A lot of the energy that I felt this past episode lacked was present in Wicked week, and this Wicked came out this week. So if we did Dancing with the Stars Tuesday, Wicked debuted Friday, so I feel that would have been a better segue. But whatever, it all worked out in the end. I'm not super upset about the person that went home. My girls, Elaine and Alex, made it through, so I can't complain too much. The opening number was totally sick though. Loved that. I did feel like everyone's first dances of the night were not as good as their second dances, and the scores reflected that for the most part. Maybe it was just the nerve of knowing that they had to do 2 full dances and that each one had to be incredible and that there's so much at stake tonight, was throwing them off a bit. And once they got that first one out of the way, they got the jitters out of the way and they could feel more comfortable. It was weird that consistently everyone's second dance was better than their first. I don't know. And for the sake of talking about these dances, I'm going to group them together. So I'm going to talk about Elaine's dances and then Alex's dances, rather than going like Elaine, Alex, yada yada yada, Elaine, Alex, yada yada yada. Elaine and Alan went first and they did a foxtrot to I Want to Be Your Lover. They received 3 9s for a total score of 27. I don't love that they went first again, because they went first in week 8, 20th birthday celebration week, and I feel like going first is such a huge disadvantage. Like, the judges don't really know what the rest of the dances are going to look like. They don't have a base for their scoring yet, so I feel like consistently the first dances have been scored lower than the rest of the dances that night. 3 9s I don't feel like was the end of the world for this dance. I would have loved to see a 10 in there, but I do get where the judges were coming from. I thought this dance was so beautiful, so elegant. As always, she was such a joy to watch. Like, her smile during that dance was just so authentic. You don't feel like she is thinking about smiling. You feel like she is dancing, and the smile comes from her dancing, from her real, genuine emotion in that moment. And that's what I love to see. Like, I've said it before in a previous episode that I was a performer. Like, I may have not been the best dancer out there, but I would go out there and I would have a smile on my face that would hurt after my 3-minute dance. When I did my solos, I was always getting a performance award, stuff for my stage presence. And so that's what I love to see in dancers, because I know that feeling. I know that feeling of being so overcome with joy and emotion that you can't help but just have the biggest smile on your face. And that's Elaine, and it's so refreshing to watch. I love it. And can we take a second to acknowledge the fact that she is 54? She is 20 to 30 years older than the rest of the contestants. Of the women that are now left, we're not counting Whitney anymore, she is 30 years older than the other two. Alex and Jordan are 24. She is 54. The next closest in age is Dylan, and he's 32. And she's not just keeping up with the kids. She's incredible. She is performing complicated routines, and that's what pissed me off even more about the whole Andy situation, is they were babying him so much, but he's only 4 years older than her, and she could dance circles around him. I don't think she's getting enough credit for that. I know that people keep saying, and she's 54, she's injured, but I just don't really feel like we're focusing enough on the fact that she is 54, and not that that's old or anything, but it's just incredible when you compare it to the rest of the contestants still left. I thought there was a lot of really cool turning moments in this dance, and overall a very pleasant dance to watch. But I do agree that it could have had a little more challenge to it, a little more oomph. It almost felt like they did a dance that they were comfortable doing. You know what I mean? They choreographed it to their comfort level. I didn't feel like there was that next push. So I agreed with Carrie Ann and Derek when they were saying that. And then for Elaine and Alan's second dance, they did a pas doble to When Doves Cry, and they received a perfect score because she came out with that freaking attack. She took their feedback so well, and she was out there it was so awesome to watch. She totally delivered. Just the fact that she could take that correction from earlier in the night and apply it to her dance is so awesome. I don't think, if you're not a dancer, you might not know, you think you take a correction, you apply a correction. But when you have done a routine so many times, or you've been dancing for so long, it's sometimes hard to actually take those corrections and put them in your body and then actually do them when you perform. Sometimes you just fall into that comfortable place that you fall back into old habits. So applying corrections is a really hard thing to do, and to do it in the same night, oh, so awesome. I had tears streaming down my face by the end of that dance, full body chills, and it's a paso doble. That's not a dance that typically invokes that kind of emotion, but I just, I couldn't help it. And it was just so awesome to see her come out there, give it her all, give it that fight, give it that attack. It was just awesome. Lisa Ann Walter was every time they panned to her, she was just yeah. And that was me watching that dance. And then when Carrie Ann got off, from behind the desk and hugged Elaine and then was bowing down to her, that would have been my exact reaction if I was in Carrie Ann's position. I don't think she was crazy at all for doing that. That was totally justified, because it was just awesome. It was so awesome. It was so magical. That's exactly what you need when you are fighting for a spot. Let's be real for a second. We all thought it was going to be Elaine or Dylan going home. We thought, hey, they're at the bottom of the leaderboard, like Robert and Alex are strong contenders, Whitney, like, scores really high, and Jordan's been really great all season. We think it'll probably be Dylan or Elaine. And she said, it's not gonna be me. I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna fight for my spot and I'm gonna earn it. And she did exactly that. It was awesome. It was literally magic. So perfect. And I loved watching the judges watch this because they were so drawn in. They were so captivated. They couldn't take her eyes off of her, and that's exactly what you want in a dance. Don't give me a second to look at my phone. Don't give me a second to look away. Demand my attention through the whole dance, and that's exactly what Elaine did. It was incredible. I like literally sobbed watching them get a perfect score. I just like she just means so much to me. I don't even know like how to fully explain it. I think I've for the most part explained it pretty well, but there's just something so special about her and this journey that I'm so glad that we get to watch her all the way through the end. Next up, Alex and Val did an Argentine tango for their first dance, and they danced to Little Red Corvette. They received a 9, a 10, and a 9 for a total score of 28. I did feel like Alex was holding back a bit here. She looked a little tense and maybe a little unsure, and I do wonder if part of that was her costume, because I feel like one wrong move in that costume and we were seeing a lot on both ends. So I wonder if that like took away from her confidence a bit in her routine. I felt like her shoulders were up a lot, and I think Carrie Ann commented on that. But it was still so good though. Like 2 9s and a 10, that's not a terrible dance at all. Also, Val has not been taking it easy with his choreography, and I love that. He is coming out there and he's putting so much content into all of his dances with her. It's been really incredible to see that. It wasn't my favorite of hers, but it didn't leave me disappointed by any means. The judges commented positively on her shapes and her line. Bruno said he wanted more sharpness from her, and I agree with that. He also called her the most improved, and Carrie Ann agreed with that, and I also agree with that. And adding on to that, Carrie Ann kind of mentioned this, but Alex has improved in a very well-rounded way. I don't really feel like she has a weakness. Like, I don't really feel like ballroom or Latin is like a weakness for her. I don't really feel like slow or quick dances is a weakness from her. I feel like every week she goes out there and she delivers, and I've never like looked at something and been like, don't know if Alex is going to be good at that. You know what I mean? And I feel like with some of these other stars, they have things that are a weak side to them, but Alex has just improved across the board in everything that she kind of doesn't have that. I mean, I'm sure she has her weaknesses, but none really come to mind. Their second dance was a Viennese waltz to Purple Rain, and they received a perfect score. Breathtaking, beautiful, gorgeous, perfect. I could go on. And her costume was gorgeous too, and like her hair, love her. She was just floating across that stage. It was beautiful to watch. And like I said, in her first dance, she looked tense, but in this dance, she looked weightless. And like she was living in the moment, drinking in every step. It was beautiful to watch. Her lines were so gorgeous. Everything about it was incredible. Derek did bid promise her a bit. There's a little sorority terminology for you. And he said, I have no doubts that we're going to see you in the finals. Bruno called it a perfect combination of motion and emotion. And Carrie Ann said that this performance will go down in history. You could tell that Alex was fighting back tears there, hearing all of those positive judges' comments. And it just makes me so happy for her to know that she is loving this experience, that she is living in this experience. And I really, really hope that she gets to take home the Mirrorball next week. After them, Whitney and Mark went, and their first dance was a cha-cha to 1999. They received a 9 and 2 10s for a total score of 29. It was fun, it was flirty, it was very sharp and clean. Technically, it was incredible, but I just don't feel drawn in by her dancing. I don't feel that connection with her like I feel with Alex and Elaine, for example. Like, what has her journey been? Putting out good dances every week? You know, loving dance? I don't really feel like she's told us too much about her story, which is crazy because she's like a reality TV star. And I think because of that, people are having a hard time connecting with her, so they're not like pushing hard for her, whereas like Elaine has fans that are pushing hard for her, Alex has fans that are pushing hard for her, Robert has fans that are pushing hard for him. But where are the Whitney fans? All the Whitney fans are just being like, well, the best dancer should win. But why should she win? Because she's good at dancing? They're all good at dancing. I don't know her. I don't know her personality. I don't know what drives her. I don't know what motivates her. And I don't see that in her dancing. She could tell me that with her words, but with her dancing, that's not being reflected, in my opinion. I feel like it was like a lack of her own emotion in the dancing. Like with Elaine's paso, you felt her real authentic energy and emotion in every step. And I don't feel like I've gotten that with Whitney. I feel like she's performing, which obviously this is a performance, but I don't feel like she's dancing. And that may be meaningless and just stupid, but I don't know. To me, it's a difference. Carrie Ann said that she could see Whitney focusing on the technique, and that pulled Carrie Ann out of it. I agree too. Like I said, I felt like she was performing it and not just dancing for the sake of dancing, so that takes me out of her performance. She doesn't pull me into the story with her. She doesn't captivate me. But the dancing is beautiful, so it's like, how can she take that next step? Her second dance was a Viennese waltz to Slow Love, and they also received a 9 and 2 10s for a total score of 29. Interestingly, maybe not, but they went before Dylan with their first dance, but then after Dylan with their second dance. I wonder if it was a costume thing or something, because everyone else went in the same order. So when I was watching that back and taking my notes, I was like, wait, did I like miss something? Did I like skip past someone? Did I do this out of order? But yeah, it was weird. They just like flip-flopped for their first and second dance. And I mean, yeah, same with this one. Like, it was beautiful, it was elegant, it was seamless. But again, I don't feel her in her dancing. I'm not pulled into the story with her. Carrie Ann said she felt the authenticity, and so maybe like she's seeing more in the ballroom and she has more insight to who Whitney is and then sees that reflected in her dancing. But I don't feel like as an audience member I've been privy to that. I don't feel like I know that side of her. I didn't feel that same thing. Carrie Ann was the one to give it a 9, and it was interesting because she had that comment, and then she said that this was her favorite dance of Whitney and Mark's, but I called it a hop, and I personally did see the hop, and that's why she gave it a 9 rather than a 10. Derek then called Carrie Ann crazy because he gave it a 10 and said it was perfect. And Bruno commented on her quality of movement, also giving them a 10. Crazy to think that that was our last Whitney and Mark dance. I really do think they had the potential to be in the finale. Would have loved to see a freestyle from them. I bet that was going to be crazy, but I'm not super upset about it. I think it was her time to go. I think the other stars have done a better job at doing the non-dancing side of Dancing with the Stars. And that's, it is Dancing with the Stars, but it's also dancing with the stars. Not just stars dancing. Dylan and Daniela did a tango for their first dance, and it was to I Would Die For You. They received 3 9s for a total score of 27. Dylan aside for a hot sec. Zac Efron made his way to the ballroom finally. I literally jumped out of my seat and screamed when I saw him on the TV screen. I didn't even know I was going to have that reaction. Like, I thought, I'd be normal about it, be like, oh my god, Zac Efron's there. But I was literally like, Zac Efron! And I've seen so many TikToks of people reacting in the same way. It was just the High School Musical girly and me. I was so excited that he was finally there. And I wonder if he came this week because he thought this might be his brother's last week. Maybe he thought that they weren't going to see the finale, but really cool that he was there, and I hope that we get to see him again next week. I just felt a little bit bad for him because every second they got, they like referenced him or they like panned to him, which is crazy because like they have it's Dancing with Stars, their audience is filled with famous people, but he's probably like one of the most famous people most actively famous people that they've had in the ballroom. With this dance, I felt Dylan was really strong and sturdy as they were moving across the floor. He felt a little off in some movements, losing control a bit. Carrie Ann said it felt like he didn't fully feel the music, and I agree, there was a bit of a disconnect. And I wonder if that goes back to what I was saying earlier, where like Prince Night maybe not be the best theme for this cast of stars. Like, do they really listen to Prince, or were they just saying that for their packages? Derek commented on his strong frame, but also channeled Len a bit and wanted more heel leads. And Bruno called him intense, but not in an arrogant way, in a firm and assertive way. And I really liked that. I like how he put it like that. Their second dance was a cha-cha to Kiss. They received 2 9s and a 10 for a total score of 28. They were the lowest scoring couple this week with a total score of 55, I believe. And they were one of 2 couples to not get a perfect score in one of their 2 dances. The other couple being Whitney and Mark, who received 2 29s for their dances. Which is a little interesting tidbit. He's definitely better in ballroom, but he looked like he was having fun out there, and cha-cha is just such a hard dance to have this late in the season. Derek said it a bit when commenting on Mark and Whitney's cha-cha. So that like definitely hurts your scores. It's hard to get a perfect score in a week 9 cha-cha. I felt like he had good rhythm and good footwork. He was really sharp too. He was like hitting all those movements. I feel like his energy did dip a bit at the end. Like, I felt like it didn't go all the way up, maybe not dipping fully, but definitely plateaued. Bruno positively called out the hip motion, the foot placement. Carrie-Anne said his arms got a little bit small at some times. And I feel like these were definitely fair scores for both of his dances. Like, neither of them this week really blew me away, but I didn't feel like they were bad dances. But the fan vote carried him through, and he lives to see another day despite being at the bottom of the leaderboard. Jordan and Ezra's first dance was a jive to Raspberry Beret, and they received 3 9s for a total score of 27. I want to first say that Ezra is so incredible when he does the jive. Like, this is definitely his style. Those kicks, awesome. I cannot take my eyes off of him. I also love that they didn't do a boring little run walk down the stairs. I feel like, you know, every dance, you know it's coming. They dance a couple of 8s up on the platform, then they run down the stairs, and then they do more. But Ezra's done a really good job at, like, using the stairs, being creative. You know, one thing that I've loved about him this season is he is not putting out a boring dance. I felt like her facials were a lot better in this, but there were moments where you could tell that the footwork was getting harder, or things were getting a little faster, and she would lose it, and, like, you could tell that she was focusing back to intense competitor mode. So that took me out of it a bit. Like, you could see that switch. There were also a couple moments where I felt like she got clunky with her steps, and sometimes her arms were getting a little wonky. Derek said he wanted more attack and bite. Bruno commented that she lost time in one part, and I also think that that was the same time where I was like, oh, she looks a little clunky, so I wonder if it was like she's getting lost, she's getting confused, like not thinking too much about being the light bouncy, trying to be like, oh my god, where am I? Get back on the music. Carrie-Anne called it the best performance of the night, and I don't agree with that. And it's crazy that she said that too, because she gave this a 9 and she gave every other dance before this a 9, so like why say that and then not give a 10? How is it the best if it scores the same as everything else? I thought that was weird. Their second dance, however, was an Argentine tango to You Got the Look, and they received 3 10s for a perfect score of 30. This was their first perfect score of the season, and Ezra's first perfect score as a pro. Loved that entrance, although it was like a little funny when you realize like Ezra's face was just right in her butt. Her legs, like in this dance, were so powerful. You could see those like athletic gymnast legs put in the work, and it worked perfectly for an Argentine tango where you have all those like intense kicks and everything. Loved that. The dancing itself was incredible. Like I said, great kicks, great attack, great energy. I was missing face from her though. She got into that dead stone-faced look, like where it could read as intense, but to me it's not reading as intense. I can tell that it's an afterthought for you. Derek called it a top performance. Bruno called her a leading lady. Carrie-Anne said she's in a class of her own and doesn't sacrifice herself to give other people what they want. So yeah, they all had really positive feedback to her. I don't really feel like they said too much about the dancing and more just about the energy in her as a person. Sometimes I feel like they do that as a cop-out, but, you know, happy for them that they got a perfect score. I just personally don't feel like it was perfect score material. I feel like it was a 29, 28. Just not quite there for me. But really happy for them, regardless. On to our last couple, Robert and Whitney. Their first dance was a jive to Baby I'm a Star, and they received 3 10s for a perfect score of 30. This was the perfect score of the night, so since this was their first dance, they were the only ones to receive a perfect score in their first dance. Pretty much expected from a Robert jive. I would have been shocked if it did not get a perfect score even before seeing the dance. The energy was 110% from the first note. The choreo was so creative. Like, Whitney Carson, you are a genius. There were some movements to me that looked a little funky. I think Robert gets too excited sometimes, and he almost attacks each step too much. Derek had a comment about how, like, Robert isn't just like, ba, 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 ba. He's like, ba, 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 ba. And I don't think they would ever take off points for having too much attack. Just, like, personally, aesthetically, it takes away a little bit from me, where I'm like, I could see more control from you there. Like, hold back your energy just a little bit. But I doubt that they would ever take off points for that at Dancing with the Stars, because that is very nitpicky and a little bit demoralizing. When she lifted Robert over her shoulder, like, that was so cool. I can't wait to see people try that on TikTok. Bruno said it was energized but also controlled. He said he called it a superstar jive. And yeah, like, oh, it was incredible. Definitely deserving of a perfect score. There were just some small aesthetic things for me, but I don't think it takes away from their score. Their second dance was a Viennese waltz to Wow. They received a 10, a 9, and a 10 for a total score of 29. Robert and Whitney were at the top of the leaderboard this week with a total score of 59. This was a great showcase of their partnership. I really felt like they were moving together, and he was leading her through that. She wasn't leading him. I felt like there was a lot of passion in this dance. But honestly, like, I don't have a lot of notes on this, and I don't know why. I was just like drawn in through the whole thing, but there weren't really moments where I was like, wow, or like things that I can really pinpoint as to why this was a good dance. But I do know it's a good dance. I can't express it. You just, sometimes when you look at it, you go, yeah, that was good. And it's funny to see this different side of him. Like, it's so different from his usual personality. And even though his jive was like also a little intense, it was like so different from that kind of intense too. Very fun. Bruno also became a bit of a bid promiser here, saying Robert would be in the finals. And then a comment from Carrie Ann that I wrote down was saying that she was drawn in. So those were our dances for week 9, the semifinals, aka Prince Night. In the end, we said goodbye to Whitney and Mark. Like I said, I wasn't completely shocked by this. She wasn't really liked online, with only 4 points separating the top of the leaderboard from the bottom, and she was only 3 points away from the bottom. She was tied for second. Like, you really need the fan vote there. That's where you have to focus on the fact that you are a star. Make people like you. Your dancing alone won't take you to the finale, even if you were a really strong dancer, because at this point, everyone is a really strong dancer, but some people are just more liked. The order of safe couples, too, felt like perfectly catered for me. As you can tell, I am a Elaine and Alex girl. They are my favorites. Having them as the first 2 safe couples, and especially having Elaine go first to get that stress out of the way, to let her have that moment, was awesome. Part of me was worried that they were going to pull another everyone's making the finals thing like they've done the past couple of seasons, but I was like, they've only done that because they were like already down to 5. They hadn't done like a no elimination yet, so like that was fine. But with this season, they did not eliminate anyone in dedication night, so you're like, no way we're having a 6-person finale. We used to just have 3. Like, no way we're jumping all the way up to 6. Especially when you only start with 14 couples. Like, that's almost half the couples. You can't do that. You can't have almost half the couples making the finale. Anyways, until I look ahead for the finale next week. I cannot believe it's already the final week. Like, this flew by. 10 weeks of incredible dancing. The finale will be 3 hours long, so plan accordingly. Each couple will be performing 3 dances, a judge's pick, an instant dance, and their freestyle. For their instant dance, they will not know the song or the style until literally minutes before they are about to perform. They like sit there in their like robes with a line of costumes. They hear the style and the song, they pick out their costumes, they change, they solidify their choreography, and then they perform. They do know that it will be from one of 4 styles that they've already danced, so they don't have to learn a new style this week. They do have to prepare 4 dances because there's 4 possible styles. They have to have 4 dances ready for their instant, on top of their judges picked and their freestyle. So they need to have 6 dances ready, which is crazy. That's a lot of work to do in 1 week. But it's the finale, you gotta put in the work. For their judges pick, they will also be getting coaching from one of the 3 mentors, which is very fun. Alex and Val will be doing a samba for their judges pick, and they will be dancing to Hip Hip Chin Chin, and their mentor judge is Carrie Ann. I'm so excited about this. We've only seen 4 sambas this season, so this will be samba number 5. And we haven't seen one since week 3. All of the sambas were in weeks 2 and 3. That's crazy because the samba is one of the hardest dances. No one can like do a samba justice in week 2 or 3. And poor Baron went home week 2 when he did a samba. Like, that is so unfair. I'm a little nervous about this for Alex. She hasn't done a lot of Latin this season, but as I said earlier, I don't really feel like she has any weaknesses. Like, she has pushed herself so much and worked so hard that she isn't going to go out into the studio and give up. So if there's like something that she's not getting, she is going to push and push and push until she gets that, and she's going to come out there and she is going to kill that samba. So excited. My perfect night for Alex would be all perfect scores, but perfect scores in Latin are hard to come by, especially samba. Like, that is pretty rare, but I know that she can do it. I hope it'll be fun and flirty, and I hope that she lives in the moment and the joy of the dance. She did that in her foxtrot in week 8, and it was so enjoyable to watch. It was like a breath of fresh air, and I just feel like she can come out in that samba and have so much fun. That song is also quintessential dance song, so I'm excited for that. Their freestyle is going to be a mashup of Sports Car by Tate McRae and Man Eater by Nelly Furtado. What a combo. Tate McRae, are you kidding me? Love that for her. Like, she is going to eat, no pun intended, these songs up. I'm a little surprised though that she's not doing any Lady Gaga in her freestyle, because she came into this season wanting to dance to Gaga. So I was kind of expecting that we would see that this week. There is a pro dance to a Lady Gaga song this week, so I wonder if that's why they were like, oh, you can't do Lady Gaga as your freestyle. But I feel like that would have superseded the pro dance. I don't know. But Tate McRae is an awesome selection for her. Love that. Val has received criticism in the past for not having the strongest freestyles. I wasn't really aware of that until I was on TikTok this week. Like, I always thought Val had good freestyles, and people were coming for Jenna too, saying that they were boring. But he's also tied for the second most mirrorballs, tied with Mark Ballas for 3. So how bad can his freestyles really be? And if they go out there and they give a strong performance and focus on their strengths as a pair, they should get a perfect score, as most freestyles do get a perfect score. I'll be shocked and devastated at anything less. I don't see Robert getting less than a perfect score in his freestyle, and I think the winner is in between them, so they both have to come out there and try to get those perfect scores across the board. Alan and Elaine's judges pick is a rumba to Take My Breath Away by Jay Hill. Their mentor judge is Derek. Rumba has also been severely underrated this season, even more so. This will only be the 3rd time we see the rumba. Only 3 rumbas this season. I love a rumba. And the other 2 rumbas were both in Wicked Night in week 6. That's crazy. Like I said, rumba is one of my favorite styles. I'm really happy to see Elaine doing this. Her and Alan have such an incredible partnership, and I think that will really shine in their rumba. The rumba is considered the dance of love, and usually that's in a very sensual way. Like, if you remember Danny and Dylan's during Wicked Night, that was a very sensual rumba. But I think that this is going to be more about the love that they have for each other in that partnership, and the love that they have for dance. And I think it's going to be like less sensual love and more just like pure, true love. You know what I mean? So I'm really excited for that. Like, I think it's going to be beautiful. And I'm so happy, like, 2 styles that are underrated, gone to my 2 favorite stars this season. That is a special treat for me. Elaine is also so beautiful in these slower dances, and she has done such a good job at moving through each and every step, having incredible fluidity and maturity in her movement. So I think we're going to see that in the rumba. I think it's going to be beautiful and emotional, and I know I'll probably be crying by the end of it, hoping for another set of 30 here. Elaine and Alan's freestyle is to I Hope I Get It from a Chorus Line. How fun! This is probably the freestyle song that I am most looking forward to, because I am a musical theater girly to my core, and I literally squealed when they revealed that she was going to be doing this song. And I feel like it's so perfect for Elaine, like, God, I hope I get it. I hope I get it. Like, I don't know, there's just something about that, like, that drive, that desire to be a dancer, to, like, perform, that I feel like we've seen that from Elaine this season. So really excited for that. My girl is an actress and a star, and this is going to perfectly highlight that. She'll get to perform, she'll get to act. I imagine that we'll get to see some of that iconic A Chorus Line choreo. Cannot wait to see that from both of them. Like, I can already see it in my head, and I already love it. Like, I can see the joy that is going to be present in this dance. Again, would love to see a perfect score for their freestyle. Like, Elaine and Alan, perfect score night, 60 across the board. Would love that. Moving on, Dylan and Daniela's judges pick is a Paso Doble to Stampede by Alexander Jean featuring Lindsay Sterling, and their mentor judge is Bruno. This song choice is very fun, a little bit of Dancing with the Stars lore here. Alexander Jean is the name of the duo of Mark Ballas and his wife, BC Jean, so when they perform together they are considered Alexander Jean, very fun. And then Lindsay Sterling is a Dancing with the Stars alum. She came in 2nd place in season 25 with Mark. So it's like a big, full Dancing with the Stars moment there. I also did a dance to this song when I was in high school, so another little moment for me. Really excited to see them in this style. I think it'll perfectly highlight Dylan as a leading man. A lot of people haven't really seen what the judges have been talking about there when they call him a leading man, and they compliment him for that, and they score him based on that. But I think that's really going to shine in the Paso Doble, because the man is featured more in this dance than the woman, especially when the male is the star. They try to do a better job at highlighting the man here. So we'll really get to see Dylan in all of his glory. His intense dances have also been a strong suit for him this season, so I think he's got a lot going for him here. again, like maybe a perfect score. I'm envisioning a lot of perfect scores if you can't tell. Dylan and Daniela's freestyle is to Something in the Heavens by Lewis Capaldi. This is an interesting song choice from them. Danny has done some really incredible freestyles, but none have been to a slow song. They've all been very upbeat. They all have been like almost a little hip-hoppy. This is her 4th finale in just 6 seasons as a pro, so she has a reputation as a really strong freestyle choreographer. Everyone always talks about her freestyle with Iman when she won her mirrorball, but I don't feel like enough people talk about her freestyle with Jason Mraz. Jason Mraz is another one of those stars that like has a special place in my heart. And while yes, Sochi was very deserving of winning that season, I also think Jason Mraz was very deserving of winning that season. And I think that his freestyle performance and his performance that night was stronger than Sochi's. So I could go on about that forever, but that's a topic for a different time. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what they do with this. I can't help but feel a bit nervous because the rest of the freestyles are 2 very upbeat songs that people might accuse it of being boring. But I think it's going to be really beautiful. I imagine we'll see some mind-blowing lifts in this. So yeah, excited for it, but cautiously optimistic. Jordan and Ezra will be doing a paso doble to Break in Dishes by Rihanna for their judges pick. And their mentor judge is Carrie Ann. I think this is a great style for them. My criticism of Jordan has largely been in her performance quality, especially her facials, but with a paso doble, you have that like intense face. So, and the judges didn't comment on that in her Argentine tango this week, where I was like, she did look a little dead there. So maybe it looks different in the ballroom and it's just not reading on the cameras, but as long as she has that intensity in her eyes, she'll kill it from a performance aspect. I'm also really excited to see what Ezra does with this style. I've loved that we've gotten to see him in more and more styles than we obviously got to see last season when he went home week 2. So it's been fun to see like his creativity as a pro, because I think he's been a really strong pro this season. I feel this is also perfect score potential. We know she's a competitor, so she's going to come and give it 110%. Their freestyle is to a mashup of Bow Down by Beyonce and Motivation by Normani. A little Fifth Harmony reference there. This is also our first Ezra freestyle. Gymnasts have been known to have really fun freestyles, so I'm excited to see a lot of fun flips and lifts and so many cool tricks. I just hope that they don't do too much and they do get to dance a bit, because a couple of seasons ago, Charity Lawson, she did a freestyle that was like very cheerleader based because she was a cheerleader. And my criticism of it, and I think the judges' criticism of it, was not enough dancing. Like, there were cool stunts, but just not enough dancing. So I hope they don't have that same feedback. Yeah, really excited for this. Based on the songs, I think it's going to be super powerful and full of attack. Lastly, we have Robert and Whitney. Their judges' pick is a quick step to Are You Gonna Be My Girl by Jet, and their mentor judge is Derek. Great style for Robert. I saw some people online complaining that a quick step and a jive was too similar, which is crazy. Like, just because they're both quick dances does not mean that they are similar at all. One is ballroom and one is Latin, so that's already a very large difference. So like I'm not listening to that, and like if the judges want to see them do a quick step, that's what the judges chose. They didn't choose the quick step for themselves. He'll have to be in frame for this dance because it is ballroom, like I said, and moving quickly in frame could be a struggle, but yeah, I don't really see that being a problem or too much of a problem. It'll be very fun, it'll be very energetic, very Robert. Can't wait. And lastly, their freestyle is a mashup of Black and Gold by Sam Sparrow and The Nights by Avicii. Black and Gold is such a classic jazz dance song. I'm sure every dancer around my age, like plus or minus 10 years, has done either a dance, a combo, or at the very least an across the floor to this song. Like, I know, like, I can picture my across the floor turns. Black and gold, black and gold. So, like, that was fun to see so that was, like, fun when their songs were released. And Whitney has done such incredible freestyles. This is going to be her 7th finale that she's a part of. And, like, some of the most iconic freestyles are at the hands of Whitney Carson. So you know this freestyle is going to be off the charts. It's going to be fun, full of so much energy, cool tricks and lifts. Literally cannot wait to see this. He'll for sure get a perfect score. Like, he'll have to, like, completely mess up or, like, fall to not get a perfect score. And hopefully that does not happen. I want the best for him. So that brings us to the end. I just want to talk about who my ideal winner is. And if you are torn on who to vote for, I hope this sways you in the direction of my dear friend, Alex Earl. And that's a joke that's been going around, like, the internet is like, so happy for my dear friend Alex Earl, like, my close personal friend Alex Earl. And that's one of the reasons why I've loved her on this show, is I feel like I know her. I feel like she is me. I feel like if I went on this show, I would hopefully be an Alex Earl. You know, like, she's a blonde 24-year-old. That's me. We graduated the same year of college. And she's just been so open to this journey and so hardworking that she deserves to be here and she deserves to win. I know they all work hard, but there's just something so different about Alex. I don't think anyone fully knew what to expect about her coming into this season. I know that I was personally excited because I came into this loving Alex Earl, so a little bit of bias. But I honestly didn't think that she was going to be as good as she is. I thought she was going to struggle with controlling her limbs because they are so long. Thought maybe she's going to be a little stiff. I didn't know. But she has blown any expectations anyone had for her out of the water. She has been the most improved. She is not only improving week after week, but she is pushing herself and she is asking Val to push her even harder than he already was. She wants to be the best possible dancer. She wants to go out there and know that she gave it her all. And I know that's probably true for everyone, but with Alex, it just feels different. One of my favorite things to watch on Dancing with the Stars is when the stars fall in love with dance. Maybe they knew it in a past life or when they were younger. Maybe this is their first time dancing. But watching someone come to dance and just absolutely fall in love with it and discover something different within themselves, that is the magic of Dancing with the Stars. And that person for me this season has been Alex. I have felt that journey from her. I said earlier that people refer to her as my close personal friend Alex Earl, and that is what you want from a star on Dancing with the Stars. You want to feel like you're a part of their journey. I was rooting for her so hard every single week. I've been holding my breath through every single dance to make sure that she kills it, and I really, really, really want to see them holding that mirror ball come Tuesday. If Alex wins, I think that the rest of the placement is going to go 5th place Dylan, 4th place Elaine, 3rd place Jordan, 2nd place Robert, and then Alex is my mirrorball champion. But if not Alex winning, I do think it'll be Robert, and then the same order will go Dylan, Elaine, Jordan, Alex, Robert. So hopefully it's my girl Alex, but honestly, if any single one of these stars wins, I'll be so happy for them. They've been so deserving. This has been a really hard season, and the talent level has been awesome, and they had the whole Andy thing to deal with, so surviving Andy was a task in its own. So that takes us to the end of the episode. That is all for this week. I can't wait to see you guys next week where we talk about our new mirrorball champion, hopefully Alex Earl. But yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell in the meantime so you don't miss the next one.